Hello and welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. This is a collective reading, and it is personal to me, and it may feel personal to you. It is a reading about the healing of relationship and of particularly close relationship. The cards that came out: Juno with partnership and Chiron. The scene underlying, and this was on the face of the deck when it shows itself, is debilitated discomfort. Interestingly, didn't really occur to me until just this moment, below that is Leo, and the moon is in Leo today as I record this. And there's also this 8th house mystery, and now I'm seeing Aquarius with collaborate. There's also been throughout the reading a lot of stuff showing up on the underside. So the first thing was this 10th house authority. And this actually feels a little bit like the blockage. Next to that were Scorpio with investigate. And then the trine sextile with symbiosis. I think that one of our one of the diseases of modern society is how we approach relationships. And that it's been getting steadily worse, I think. And it's interesting that, relationships are both a very fundamental need of being human, but also often fraught. And it's this second piece and the attempted elimination of it that I think is at least part, if not the main part of the problem. There is a kind of line through modern society when we think about progress that in theory things get easier. A washing machine is much easier than, a big boiling tub of water with a stir stick in it, and this in its way was probably easier than pounding on a rock while kneeling next to a river. So there's this line of things becoming easier, and I think, and faster. Now you can order something online and have it there that afternoon sometimes. You can certainly order food and have it in 20 minutes. And it seems like we want this to apply to relationships too. I was actually listening to something this morning, and the person was saying that you should examine relationships and whether or not they serve you. And she actually used the word friendships. Do they serve you? And that, I was so dispirited and demoralized by this idea that we might be choosing friendship by whether or not it serves us. It's like a cost-benefit analysis of friendship. But I think that we do that, You know, who can I spend the least amount of time with but get the most amount of enjoyment out of? You know, who do I have fun with without having to expend a lot of anything? And I think that, in fact, it has left us debilitated. I think that a lot of things have left us debilitated. A lot of the things that we see as conveniences have, in fact, debilitated our bodies because we don't move them nearly as much. Instead, we have to go to the gym in order to do all these things that maybe we could do. You know, if we did more physical things around the house, we wouldn't have to go to the gym. But the gym is cool and hip and all of these things. Whereas, you know, sweeping the leaves rather than using a leaf blower, or you know, cleaning the floors manually rather than with a vacuum cleaner or whatever it is. That all these things that once we, you know, it's not that I want to get rid of washing machines, but that I feel as if we have these things and then they kind of take over completely. And we don't consider the consequences. And it seems to me that relationships have this too. And combined with that, with this idea of ease and convenience and speed, and the need for each person to have as much freedom as possible. And then there's the safety measure. Friendships are fraught because they're risky. We can have a bad experience where we're left feeling very sorrowful or disappointed or in grief. But when we try to cut all of that stuff out, right, it's like food too. You know, if you ate nothing but power bars and protein drinks, I mean, you might, in theory, get all the individual nutrients, but they wouldn't be the same. There's probably parts of your digestion that would become debilitated, part of your body that might become debilitated. And it's not nearly as satisfying. We make everything easier and then we're really dissatisfied. And we don't know what's wrong. So we have the goblin, the wounded human ego. Mm-hmm. But below that is beauty. And this makes me think of something that John O'Donohue talks about. And I think it's in Anamkara. And he died in 2008, I think. It was a while back. But even then, he was already talking about psychological speak. And there's this little bit where he speaks of, you know, you encounter this, you know, human being with this beautiful face, and then they speak about themselves in these, you know, really clinical terms. You know, they talk about their life as if it's a series of programs. But there's this beauty that wants to be seen. And below that, I'm seeing now, is death and fear. Mm. So the fear of loss. The fear of loss is a big thing. Remaining alone, remaining untouched can seem safe. You know, I'll never feel loss. But of course that isn't true. And you feel kind of low grade bad all the time. And there's something here now that is wanting, something is coming through, I should say. That's coming through here in this reading. Turn a bit of light on. It's very cloudy here today. It may be this Mercury retrograde. There is this association. One part of it is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is all about deep relationship, about intimacy and merging. Scorpio doesn't want to hear about your fears of connection. Right? It's so good, it's so juicy, but it's absolutely worth it. There's also this connection with Mars, and to some extent with Venus. Mercury is meeting up with both of them at each end. So he has these two meetings with the sun. One that's happening on the new moon, day of November 20th, and that happens in Scorpio. Actually, at about 28 degrees, interestingly, of Scorpio. Of opposite Uranus. The disruption card is here. And then in January, he's going to meet with the sun again. This time at the very edge of Aquarius, just after the sun has moved into Aquarius. And again, Mars and Venus are right there. And it's not, I mean, yes, male, female, man, woman, but mostly that these are very personal planets. The moon is actually really close by as well. Not too long after, I think, that second meeting, I feel like, or right before, because there's a new moon in Capricorn that happens at the very edge of Capricorn. And then everybody tips over into Aquarius, and that's when this second Mercury Kazimi happens. Pluto is there, the moon is, in its waxing phase. And Sun, Moon, and Mercury, Venus, Mars are, I think, the most personal planets. So there's something here about the personal. We have birth, rebirth. Something coming online. Something being born. And I don't believe this is us. This is an energy, I think. That maybe has been dormant. An idea, perhaps, a belief, a story that has been asleep dormant, kind of the way seeds can be dormant, or the way insects or some frogs can be dormant or kind of frozen for years. And now it's going to be released. I'm almost thinking, you know, about spores that are being released. You know, we evolved here on Earth with all the plants, and we have this microbiome in us, not just bacteria, but yeasts and mites and other kinds of beings that share our bodies with us. So it's like these ideas, these beliefs, this energy is like spores that we used to breathe all the time. And then they got buried and frozen because of other beliefs that we have, kind of the beliefs of the machine, the beliefs of empire. And this is us. We're here. The Merlin, we're very cool. We've got our technology, we've got our stuff. But for many of us, not all, absolutely, it's never all, but many of us have a layer between ourselves and our closest others. And the thickness of that layer also varies. But there is, you know, the wizard in his tower. But now there's this message. And this disruption. So it does feel very much to me like this new moon in Scorpio, opposite Uranus. And Uranus in Taurus. So back, right, that this Uranus in Taurus will release these spores. I mean, maybe they've been waking up sort of gradually over the course of Uranus's time in Taurus. And now there's this final moment. He's going to leave Taurus and not go back for almost 80 years. So this incoming message. We also have judgment. I think there is some fundamental change that is going to happen for many of us. And that hopefully it will spread to other people. And then we have this everlasting light. Something about what we believe is possible. I was also listening to a little bit of Paul Kingsnorth. And I agree with much of what he says, but he's a bit pessimistic for me. And I want to say that the everlasting light is there. Below that is this falling fledgling. Also us. But simultaneously, we're also here as the watcher. So the human self and the soul self. And I'm realizing now, and actually I'm going to go one more to this particular 10 of Wands, right, where they see each other, right? The two things are together. The integration, unification. And I realized that I didn't do the cards on the underside of this deck. First is truth. That there is this truth that is going to be seen. Then we get the Lady of the Lake. Now, she also says absolute truth, courage, self-respect, responsibility. But this sense of the sword arriving, this symbolic object of sovereignty. Excalibur is the sword and the stone gets broken. But it isn't until Arthur proves himself worthy that the Lady of the Lake shows up and gives him Excalibur. Then there's trust. An absolute necessity for really deep relationship. And I think that this relationship is not just with our nearest and dearest people, but with our souls and spirit as well. Then we get the dragon with power, the eagle with the angelic realm, and communication. The underside here is the writer, that story. What story do we tell about ourselves, about our relationship with other people, with spirit? What is the story that you're writing? Then guidance. Are you open to it? Because we also have humility. Are you open to the idea that maybe something you believe is incorrect or distorted? Are you seeing friendship in a distorted way? You know, if you decide who you're going to be friends with by whether the friendship serves you or not. You know, if you pick up people and drop people, or if you have friendships where there's this wall is consistently in place. And then there's this rising, right? The willingness to encounter the flames. And finally this really sweet, right? The fish brought the little flower. The fish came all the way here for you with the flower, and you just gotta look up. There's nothing here that is censorious or scolding or finger wagging. That's not the kind of message that is here. This is Source and your soul wanting you to see the beauty of the world. Not for some moral imperative or because you're supposed to. But because it is so beautiful. There is no utility in it. It's not about utility. Though there is utility because you won't be debilitated anymore. So we have the Three of Wands, which I think is Both that card actually and the High Priestess here come through as waiting for something. And this again feels like your human self and your soul self that maybe have been waiting for this, the trumpet call of judgment. Maybe that is what judgment is about. Not the day of judgment when, you know, God sends a bunch of people to hell and everybody else rises up to heaven. That it's about this rebirth, this reawakening. And then we get Underhill Road, which for me is about a return to passion, a return to love, a return to soulfulness. You know, I picture that in the house here, all the lights are on, that there's a party happening, that there's a group of people in a convivial gathering. You know, there's lights and there's good food and there's laughter and maybe there's music. But not a lot of utility. This is not a practical sort of thing, right? She's not wearing anything very practical for walking about in the snow. There's a romantic aspect too. Now, the next card that came out is this Six of Pentacles, which has been showing up for me recently as a gift. And what's interesting is that another card sort of was a little stuck to it, but didn't really want to come out. And when I turned it over, it was this protection spell. So are you riding around in this protected circle, or are you out there, right? Your heart perhaps exposed to the elements. That in order to receive the gift, you cannot receive the gift if you're riding around in this bubble. And then there's catching the light. Catching the everlasting light. Trust, faith, confidence. I feel as if there aren't words that really do it justice. The everlasting light. That it's something that you feel within you rather than, you know, knowing with words. And that it can exist not just between you and Source, but between you and another person. Because we have the Two of Cups. And behind it is this frozen Five of Pentacles. And interestingly, she's kind of looking at this Ten of Cups. And I want to say that the Ten of Cups is it's a little too much. That the goal here isn't to, you know, love everybody and be a ray of sunshine for everyone on earth and all of these things. That's too much. That's not the call here. The call here is to the Two of Cups. We also have the moon here. Oh, and I'm seeing now the chariot as well. There's something mysterious as well. That there are things that I will not be able to relate. Certainly not verbally in this reading. That there's a deep mystery in relationship that can only be discovered by engaging in it fully. The bottom here, we have this Knight of Pentacles. And he is devoted. There's a sense here of a reluctance. The Knights are interesting in this deck because they're all just the helmet and the symbol. There may be a kind of reluctance. Right, this 10 of Wands, the weight of it. The idea that maybe it's really complicated, or, you know, people will tell you that good relationships are work. Then the 8 of Cups. Right, that tendency sometimes to just walk away. It'll just be easier if I just walk away. Now, you know, I find myself doing this, saying, wanting to disclaim an extreme, right? That of course, if you have a relationship that is really abusive, you know, if somebody is abusive to you, that, and I mean genuinely abusive to you, that you don't stick around in it, of course. But that isn't, you know, people have bad times. People have bad moments when, you know, they blow up. Or, you know, or they disappear for a while because they're wrapped up in something. Or. And if there is, you know, if there is genuine connection, then you weather that. Maybe you help that. Or maybe you just witness it, whatever it is. But that there isn't a knee-jerk reaction to just run away. But next to that is this Page of Wands. Right, that is this fresh energy, this innocent page energy. This desire to change, to try something new, to be inspired. This can even be true with things. You know, we talk about finding our passion and you know, doing that. I think that's a whole tricky thing in itself, right? Do we all have one passion? But what is your relationship with your profession, with what you do, with the stuff that you do in your life, with any spiritual practice that you have? Eight of Swords. This is this. And the Ace of Cups is arriving. This is an arriving cup. There's actually, the Ace of Cups appears again, but here it is a cup that is given, right? Part of this gift. And I do think that this gift has some sort of physical component in it too. It is the Six of Pentacles. I don't know what it might be. It might literally be a physical person. Could be a child. Could be some resource. Could be an object that facilitates friendship in some way. You know, I don't know, you inherit a house that you didn't expect from your Aunt Jane. And it turns out to be, you know, really great for giving parties, or, you know, it's got 3 guest bedrooms and you can invite lots of people over and have house parties, and, or it has, you know, a studio in the back where you find a new relationship with your artwork. Right? There's something. It may also be, you know, a spiritual kind of gift, an understanding, a clarity. And then the Hierophant, this, right, this new belief system. It's a bit like receiving communion, going to a mass at a Catholic church and receiving communion, right? The body and the blood of Christ. So you receive this drink that creates a change within you, that allows this new belief system to really fully come online. And that takes us to this Six of Cups. And not, you know, it isn't even really the meaning of the Six of Cups. It's this image that we move from this Merlin. Now he's elderly, and it's not, not that there's a badness about being elderly, but that there's it's like a winter of life. And then there's this spring that comes. There's this renewal. So, you know, it's not about chronological age, or it's not even about how you look. It is, what is your spirit, your human spirit like? This birth, rebirth of a spring of the human spirit. A renaissance, if you will. There's a guy on YouTube who, he's kind of a philosopher. He talks about reading and academia and some stuff like this. And I haven't actually watched the videos, but I see them go by, and the title is "We Are Near a Renaissance," a new renaissance. And in his case, he's talking about a renaissance of the study of humanities, you know, as opposed to STEM. But I think that there is a different kind of renaissance that is also happening that may be in some ways connected to that. And it is exemplified by this card. Right? Kind of, this is your aura. So we have the Ace of Wands. Oh, and I'm seeing now the Knight of Discs here, actually in person rather than, you know, just his accoutrements. So present. And he is looking here at the Hierophant, at this new belief system, this new faith. And below that, I'm seeing is that tower, the disruption. So there is, you know, it's like slow and then fast and then maybe slow again. That there's been, you know, anything that you've been doing in the spiritual sphere, stuff you've been reading, things you've been contemplating, taking journeys, meditating, walking, all of it. And then it's like lightning striking as well. So there may be some sudden realization that happens. I want to say anytime between now and January, perhaps. Right? There's a lot of things in motion. It may depend on specific transits in your chart or where you are in your life, or right? This is more of the mystery, this mystery. That trying to pin it down with a date and time is difficult. I mean, the bottom here we have the Hermit. He was actually on the top of this deck when it chose itself. That we're coming to the end for you and for me, for us. An end to the hermiting. Because we have the Ace of Pentacles. And also this High Priestess. And I want to say that the two of them, that they're kind of the two kinds of aloneness. Because each of these archetypal characters operates kind of alone. I mean, the High Priestess might have attendants, you know, people who, you know, either serve her or take down her pronouncements or these kinds of things. But she is essentially alone. Right? She communes with spirit alone. And then the Hermit, you know, while he may, you know, meet up with people in the village every now and then, and that essentially he lives alone and really only talks, he's only intimate with spirit. Both of these people are only intimate with source. But there's this physical Ace of Pentacles, the root of the powers of earth here. Coming back to the physical. So there's kind of these two ways of being alone. There may be this kind of religious, shall we say, this spiritual, you know, I need to be pure, or I need to be alone, or I'm, you know, only communing with source at this time. And that might have purpose, but that it isn't a forever thing. That once it starts to be more than that, once you go past the edge of that, then you start to be isolationist. Then you're staying there out of fear. There's also possibly, right? On the other end of things, there's people who are simply, you know, I'm just not going to be involved with people because they're difficult and a problem. I'm not going to be intimate because it's painful, or it's difficult, or it's complicated, or it never works out well. All the flavors. Now, interestingly, we have this abundance here, but it's followed by apathy. And I think that this particular abundance is all of the stuff. It's all of the digital life. And I kind of include all the conveniences, even if they're physical conveniences. I was saying to somebody yesterday that the movies have they reached peak fake? And by that I mean peak CGI. You know, it's almost, you know, you have movies where you almost don't have real people talking to real people on the screen. You know, and everything is green screened and all of these kinds of things. And I think that we realized that this is flat. You know, it was kind of cool initially, but now it's just become flat. We see that it's flat. We can't feel it. And that's, you know, doubly, trebly, quadruply true for personal relationships. You know, texting and emailing is kind of, you know, it's handy, but it's not enough. We are animal bodies and we want to be in the room with animal bodies. So we've come into this apathy, right? We're diseased, we're debilitated, we're uncomfortable, we're apathetic. And so then we get the Ace of Cups again, the root of the powers of water. This is your grail, right? You're moving from all of this excess leading to apathy and coming down to the thing. Back to the core. And there you are with your cup. And when you understand it, when you see your own self, when you get back to your own center, to your own values, to your own body, to your own feelings, then you can move outward, right? This is the Knight. He's going to take that cup and go and share it with other people. Formal advice. Share your bounty. That is to say, yourself, your heart, your dreams, your hopes, your beauty, your bad temper, your fears, your hopes, your opinions, your questions, yourself. We also have cherish the small things. And then on the underside, make space for change, because it's coming. 2, drink deeply from the cup and from this cup. Drink deeply. That's right, how you come here. And it's not a program or a series of steps or anything like that. It's more mysterious than that. What comes in the cup is more mysterious. And then we have receive your worthiness. And of course, this is another aspect of why we may avoid intimacy. Right? We feel unworthy. We feel there's something wrong with us. You know, maybe we don't know how to love, or we're unlovable, or we're damaged, or, you know, we have attachment issues, so we're stuck with that. All these things, all these ways that we can label ourselves. Right? The only label here is truth. Truth. Right there, we'll cover up the goblin. So we have create. And to me, she really just seems joyful. Creation not for any, again, utilitarian purpose. Sometimes people will say, you know, whenever they share something they've knitted or drawn or created on social media, a bunch of people will show up and say, oh, you should sell that. You should monetize that. You should take this creation and add it to the market. Maybe. But maybe it's just joy. And by trying to attach some sort of utility to it, you kill it. Embrace self-compassion. Always, always, always. When forever and ever. Establish sanctuary. And this is the sanctuary of your mind and your spirit. I say a bunch of stuff here. What feels good to you, you keep that. You know, maybe don't watch everything or read everything. I haven't watched a horror movie in a number of years, and I don't miss it. I don't read horror stories. I mean, I'll read like a vampire story. You know, I would probably watch a Peter Cushing old style vampire movie. But, you know, kind of more modern horror like Saw or, you know, these kinds of things. I don't, you know, there's lots of mystery programs that are really gritty and bleak. You know, serial killer stuff, Criminal Minds, this kind of stuff. I just don't. I don't. So whatever that is, and I don't know what it is for you, maybe there's something. Don't just allow all of the world to come flowing through your mind. Have a sanctuary to protect your connection to the everlasting light. And then transform your thoughts. Right? This is kind of, it's a bit like body and mind here a little bit. Right? This joyfulness in the body, you know, moving, dancing, creating something, knitting, pottery, food, garden, sewing, whatever it is, woodworking, drawing, and then the thoughts. Right? This kind of goes with, these go a bit with the writer. What story are you telling? How are you writing your life? And I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's part of the mystery. Will what you do change the world? I don't know. In theory, it could. But I do think that it will change your life. And that it will absolutely have an effect on the lives of those around you. So healing relationships, healing intimate relationships of all kinds. I don't know why I sort of feel like I want to pull something from somewhere. Queen of the Sun Oracle. Will and desire popping out, but they're not what wants to be seen. Oh, yeah, there's that protection that maybe you've been engaging in, but beginnings on the underside. All right, these two are of a similar energy. And then what do we have here? Oh, action and hope. And, you know, normally I prefer the word faith to the word hope. But there's something here about hopeful action. Action that envisions a positive outcome. Under this protection is renewal, reciprocity, cycles. Although, yes, of course. Next to the beginnings, what was under next to the beginnings is joy, contentment, synergy, truth. So that to behave in this way, to embrace this, is to take hopeful action. To take action with a positive outcome in mind. I wish you change. I wish you this birth and rebirth. I wish you catching the light. I wish you all the best. And I will see you next time. So long.